Hello, welcome to Module 6 in PA 460. And you have handed in your first group policy worksheet, and I'll go over that later while we go over your second worksheet with some pointers and some tips. Um, we'll go here to Module 6, go to the overview. And as you'll see, you have the different objectives. You also have the video that we are doing now. And then you have all of the learning activities. This is set up similar to last week. Um, and part 1 is welfare and social security. So that's in tandem with chapter 9 in the text. And then you have videos to watch here. They're very important. Some of these presentations are a bit older, so they'll use data from, in this case, 2012. Spoiler alert, things have gotten worse since then. And some of these other statistics are 2017, I believe, for a lot of them from the text. I tried to update where I could, but I didn't want to recreate graphs and all of these things. But it's about the same. It's actually gotten slightly worse. And we're going through here. These are all from the textbook. And going over Social Security, so understanding what that is and how it uses the taxing and spending instrument of public policy. Most of you have gotten that when we say instrument of public policy and it's put in capital letters and it's italicized, it means refer to the list from earlier modules. Make sure that you do that for the market failures, for the policy, the instruments of public policy, and also for performance measures. Always refer back to those. Don't just Google something because they may give you a definition that could be appropriate in a certain field of economics, but maybe not in public administration or public policy. Please use what I've supplied for you. So this is the part 1. This is a summary. Some of these videos I couldn't embed, so you'll just have to hit the link and it'll go to that link. And then we go to the next part, education policy, which is chapter 10. This is a lecture that I put together a few years ago, going over challenges to public K through 12 education equity. So if there's older reference, it's a few years old. Then we have the summary of the chapter. I put in a lot of extra things here just because that's one of my fields of research. And you have this video, which explains why college is so expensive in the United States. Actually, in California, it's pretty inexpensive. And in some other states like Florida, it's fairly inexpensive. But other states, that's not the case, especially when you get to more quote unquote elite institution, it gets far more expensive. Then you get to private institutions and it's even higher, as you can see here. But we've seen this massive increase in tuition and fees. And when you see this graph, this is important, inflation adjusted. So it's put to a dollar amount that's the same for all of these. In this case, it was 2019 dollar value. And so 17,000 obviously was less than that in 1988, but that's the equivalent today. So these have already been adjusted. This isn't inflation. This is equivalent. And that's the shocking thing. You see the massive increases. But those of you with an economics background will realize when you have more people wanting to go into college over the last 40 years, when you have more access to student loans, that creates higher demand and the prices are going to go up. That was in tandem with states spending less and less on higher education. Okay. And so now we have a discussion here. For some reason here, and also you have to hit this to go to it, and then it links with the, the San Diego PBS. So watch that, same as usual. First, make sure to comment on Thursday before the end of Thursday, and then make sure to respond to a student's post by the end of Saturday. And here we'll get to the policy alternatives worksheet. So this is the group project 2. One thing I want to say that's very important. And I gave this tip last time, but I know everyone doesn't listen to all of these videos, or you can't comprehend everything. You have a lot of things in your life. Is if I put just 3 examples in the sheet, that doesn't mean just give me 3, let's say, stakeholders, for example. It means 3 is the minimum. So if you want to have a good grade on the assignment, you would do more than the minimum. Think, if I do 3, I get a C, as I had said. So I want you to think more and put a little bit more effort. Most of you have done a fairly good job, but some people I see are sticking to, 2 or 3, whatever examples I give, and not spending enough time. So make sure to listen to these videos and listen for the tips. So here's the worksheet. And then you have, like before, a question. This week's a little bit different. You're going to be looking for at least 3. Well, you're okay. In this case, just give me 3 policy alternatives and then the source. But if you have 4 people in your group, or you'd like to have 5 or 6, that's fine. You can have as many as you'd like, but just report 3. And I'll show you the example in just a second. And then you have the questions to answer regarding that. Again, you're going to be applying instruments of public policy. I give you the list again, just to save you time from going back and forth. And I will go back and show you the example. Oops, too far back. So here is the policy alternatives worksheet. And as you see, societal issue from previous worksheets. So you're taking from your first worksheet and you're putting down. Now, if I made comments on your first worksheet to suggest a better societal issue, make sure to take that into account. It's key to go in and read my comments from the first worksheet, because sometimes groups don't do that. They're making the same mistake over and over again. So for example, when you say societal issue, most of you are getting this. It means something that's local and something that is more specific. It can't just be societal issue homelessness. But here we have chronic homelessness in Imperial County, California. This makes it, something that for the later worksheets, it'd be easier to create some policy for. Second, sometimes people put something like immigration, that's a societal issue. Try to be more specific. Like, is immigration a bad thing? Is it? No, it's not. Obviously, it's what built this country. So are you saying capacity issues with processing immigrants? Are you saying failed states and the number of refugees, or those seeking asylum? Be very specific with your societal issue. And this will help you when you look for different articles or videos or whatever that you're going to use. So in this case, we have 3 different policy alternatives that are mentioned. And when we say policy alternative, it just means one policy that's considered to be used for the societal issue. So for this example, first is There Is a Better Way program, and I'm using the TED Talk that we all saw. And so I'm just briefly describing that policy alternative and saying, what are the components? The components are outputs. They're the services. And, put the instrument of public policy after it. So we have 1, the day worker program with VAN. That's market mechanism, subsidies, government management, because the city is running that. Subsidies because they're giving money to those who are participating. And it's a market mechanism to the paying them to do work rather than panhandle. So two, intake and referral program for healthcare and housing services. So this is information, education, and research. So it's an intake, it's referral to different services. It's government management in some cases that they're hiring the social workers. And it's public-private partnership because a lot of the healthcare and other services and housing services are done with a third party. Three, you have the job skills training program. So information, education, and research, and that's a public-private partnership. And then four, short-term and long-term housing program, that's information, education, and research, and a public-private partnership. You get to policy alternative two, and this is an article, Ending Chronic Homelessness, Cost-Effective Opportunities for Interagency Collaboration. And then you have several different items here as well. It's not quite as comprehensive as the previous example, but you have permanent supported housing, government management, information, education, research, public-private partnership, subsidies, and then you have creating interagency collaboration networks, and that's government management handling this information, education, research, and public-private partnerships again. And then you have the link. The link is for me, so I can just briefly check it and make sure that this is something that makes sense. And the third one, and for this now, I'm saying just do the three. I mean, you can put 4 and 5 if you want, but 3 is adequate for a good grade. On other things like stakeholders and components, things like that, try to do more than what I put out there. So policy alternative 3, Third Door Coalition in King County, and this is permanent supportive housing. That's government management, and it's very similar subsidies. And there's just one component here, and there's the link. And you're done. So if you have 3 group members, then probably one of you should have one for each. But make sure you answer what the services are, what are the components, what are the outputs. Not outcomes, everyone's happy and this and that, and we make sure people, live their best life. That's too vague. It's output is the specific service and what instrument of public policy that is. So question 2, as a group, choose one policy alternative based on the above, or you can do a combination or have something else, it doesn't matter. And in this case, I created just a hypothetical chronic homeless outreach project, CHOP, similar to policy alternative 1, which is There is a Better Way program. And the summary, 4 different programs, components implemented. These are outputs implemented by Imperial County, coordinating with other area organizations. Do this, who's handling this? How does it work? Try to be specific. Cities, nonprofits, public safety, state organizations. You don't have to say the exact name of each organization, but this tells me that you understand what type of organizations would be involved. And funded by local government, county, and participating cities with state and federal grant support. This should be probably on all of yours, this little caveat, with state and federal grant support. Because when you work in local government, and some of you do, you are always looking for state and federal grants, as well as private grants. So policy alternative components, you have the 4, day worker program, shelter program, health services program, and job skills and placement program. And then here you're seeing who's responsible for implementing the policy and how would it be paid for. You don't have to know exactly. Again, I don't want numbers for these things in spreadsheets and such. I just want you to know that you have an idea of how the funding would work. So in this case, Imperial County would coordinate and implement the policy, working with partnerships with other local government entities, nonprofit organizations, private organizations, state government agencies, and federal government agencies. Funding would be a mix of general county funds, state and federal grants, and private donations. So this is expanding a bit what we said here in the summary. So that gives me an idea that you know where the money may be coming from. What instruments of public policy would be utilized? And again, we had already mentioned that in the earlier example, and we see government management, information, education, research, public-private partnership, market mechanisms. You can add subsidies and as well. which is a market mechanism. Question 3, equity challenges. Just give me like a paragraph of what might be a challenge to equity, meaning how can you keep it fair? And I give you an example to read through there. Question 4, what might be some challenges? Political feasibility, social acceptability, administrative capacity, and liberty legality. So there's lots of issues here. Read through what I put there. It'll give you an idea for yours as well, because you're going to have similar challenges with lots of different programs. And how you might ensure adequate transparency. Just a real simple paragraph here. So budgets accessible to the public on county website. Every year it's updated. There's an annual audit. This will include the amount frequency of all payments to third-party entities as part of the P3 initiatives. Finally, operational measures, including efficiency and effectiveness metrics, will be posted on the website each year. So it's fairly transparent. And if you have questions, feel free to send me an email. That is absolutely fine. And finally, for the week, oops, you have the reading quiz for chapters 9 and 10. So again, make sure to look at my comments from your first worksheet. I will be done grading them Sunday. I'll be grading them Sunday and Monday. They should be done by Monday. If not Monday, then the morning, maybe the evening. And make sure to make the changes for these second worksheets. Anyway, thank you all so much for your patience and your hard work. And if you need me for anything, let me know.